Jai Prabhuji. Welcome to the Retroprogressive Yoga Institute. My name is Radha Devi and I am a monastic disciple of the Ramakrishnananda Order. Here in this institute with my brothers and spiritual brothers and sisters, we are exploring, deepening, and sharing our understanding from the different writings, books, and video conferences of our Master Prabhuji. In our case, we have the blessing to be exploring together the book Kundalini Yoga, The Power is in You. This is the book, if you didn't see it yet. It is my recommendation to get the book. I many times mention how it's going to become a life companion. It's going to provide you a lot of value. We are here in this course deepening, expanding, and sharing my humble understanding of what we find in the book, but it's by no means replaceable for what you can find in the book itself. You can associate directly with the words of an enlightened being about this ancient wisdom of the Kundalini Yoga when you get the book. We are already advanced in our course. This is the series of classes of the Vishuddha Chakra, which is the fifth center. And in our two previous classes, we started to understand what is this center about. We learned that it's about communication. We understood what are the different elements that are needed in order for communication to be successful. And we also understood how we many times try to take the role of the one that is emitting the message, the one that is giving the message, and not so much the one that is receiving. But in order for real communication to happen, we need to cultivate both, to be the receptor, the receiver, and also the one that is emitting, even though we usually find ourselves in the one of emitting. And because of that, we explored the term of receptivity and understood during those classes the importance of cultivating it and why it's another ingredient that we need to develop and cultivate in this path, and I dare to say in any path towards the realization of ourselves. Then we also understood what are different obstacles in order for receptivity to happen, in order for real communication to happen. And we spoke about the desires, also our preconceived ideas. Other things that we also explored was the silence. And in our previous class, we understood what are the difference between hearing and listening, and why they're also an important part of the receptivity that we started to share about, that we saw how its peak, it's going to be meditation, or the peak of communication is going to be meditation. In this occasion, we are going to understand even more different properties that are associated with this center, like the deities, the different stones, the aromas, the different essential oils, and many other properties like the elements, the glands. And without giving you more, I would like us to start sharing in regards to the meaning of the name itself of this center. The word Shuddhi, it's going to mean purification. That is the translation of this Sanskrit word. And as we saw, this center, it's about communication. So in that way, it purifies us in the sense that we ultimately communicate with ourselves, with what we are, and with our reality. And we can read from the book that it's telling us that purity is not something that we can create, practice, cultivate, or acquire from the external world, but it's a natural state and condition, and it's what we really are. And I wanted to refer to that specific phrase that says what we really are, because it's a phrase that we many times go back to it. And it's a phrase that it's very much used by Prabhuji in the Retroprogressive Yoga. And it's showing us here one more time, according to my humble understanding, how this phrase is showing us how in the path towards self-realization, we are not trying to acquire something, to add something to ourselves, but sometimes we even use the word destruction. There are a few conferences not long ago that I really recommend that you will see that Prabhuji did in regards to destruction and how much is related to the path towards the realization of yourself, of what you really are, to quote again the same phrase. And for me, every time I get the opportunity to remind it, I do, and I feel this is another occasion to do it. When it's saying this is what we really are in this path, we're not trying to add something or acquire something, but on the opposite, we're trying to remove, to reveal, to undress ourselves of so many things that we've been acquiring throughout the years. And these are the things that are not allowing us to perceive, to realize that is mentioned there, that we really are. So continuing, this is just a thought in regards to this name of the chakra about purification. And the more we continue into our class, we're going to keep understanding this relation with purification. Other names that are used in order to refer to this center, it's going to be the larynx or the throat chakra, related to the location of it. Then in the tantric terminology, we saw that it's called akasha or ether, kanta, which means the throat, kanta, which means kanta desha, which means the throat region. And there are many other names that you can go to the book and understand more, like for example Kanta Padma. We already know that Padma is lotus, so then Kanta, we just saw that is throat. So it's going to, another of the names to refer to this center is going to be the lotus of the throat. We have it in the Vedas and also in the Upanishad. It's going to be called Kanta Chakra, which is the chakra of the throat, or Vishuddha, that means the pure one, and Vishuddhi, that is the purifier. And lastly, in the Puranic terminology, it's also going to be called Vishuddha, which is the pure one, and Vishuddhi, which is purification. So as we see, usually the other names or alternative names of the center are related either to the name itself, the translation or the meaning of the name, the location of the center. Sometimes it's also the amount of petals of the center itself. And as we saw, because we have the lotus as the yantra or that figure to represent the center, it's also used in the alternative names of the center itself. The location of this fifth center is the neck at the height of the throat, but it's going to be inside the Sushumna Nadi. I am pointing here, but this is not where it's actually located, but inside the Sushumna Nadi, which is located where the spinal column and also the medulla oblongata meet. So again, what I'm pointing here, it's actually the Kshetram, and I'm going to show an image now, because we know that the Kshetram is in the front of the body, but the location itself, the difference will be that it's inside the Sushumna Nadi, which is, now we just saw that it's in the spinal column and the medulla oblongata. And then the Kshetram at the front of the throat, near to the thyroid gland, and we will see later how this is the gland that is related to this beautiful center. Now we can speak about the presiding deities or the Deva of this center. And the fifth center, the fifth energy center, it's ruled by the deity Panchavaktra Shiva. And its name means the Shiva of the five faces. We saw in different occasions when we use this word Pancha means five. We saw the Panchabhutas, the five elements. We saw the Panchatatvas, and so on. So it's very curious that this center is the fifth center, and now the Deva that is presiding has five heads or faces, and they have different names according to the element that is going to be associated, which are the Panchabhutas. We have Agora, that it's related with ether or Akasha. Isana is with the water or Apas. Mahadeva with the earth or Prithivi. Sadashiva with air or Vayu. And finally Rudra with fire or Tejas or Agni. And then this Panchavaktra Shiva has four hands. In the right hand, he's holding a rosemary, or as we call it, mala. And in the other one, he's making the Avaya Mudra, which is vanishing all fear and apprehension. And then in his left hand, in one of them, he's holding the sacred trident, and in the other one, the Damaru drum. This is, as you can see, everything that we're sharing, it's giving us some insight in regards to the center itself, and there are so many ways to connect to it in a symbolic way and not taking things literal. But as we spoke when we started our classes in regards to the chakra, we spoke about connecting to the centers and trying to pay attention to the centers, and then all the things that we've been sharing in regards to it are an invitation for it, different ways that we can connect to the centers that we've been sharing. Then the goddess or the Devi of the center, which is also the Shakti of the chakra, would be Shakini, or the powerful one. This is what it means, this name. And as usual, as is our custom, we're going to read the verse from the Satchakra Nirupana that is referring to this specific Shakti, or this specific Devi of the center. Purer than the ocean of nectar is the Shakti Shakini, who dwells in this lotus. Her dress is yellow, and in her four lotus hands she carries a bow, an arrow, a noose, and a goad. The whole region of the moon without the mark of the hare is in the periphery of this lotus. This is the getaway of great liberation for one who desires the wealth of yoga and whose senses are pure and control. We find this verse in the Satchakra Nirupana by Swami Purnanananda. This is the verse number 30. Again, more insight, more ways to associate with the center. I love the part where it's speaking about whoever wants to achieve the wealth of yoga, then by having its senses pure and control, then it's possible, and how it's speaking about the wisdom and the name itself, the powerful one. It's giving us so much insights in regards to what this what this center is about. And I mentioned element because it's the next thing that we want to share, the element or the tattva about related to this center, which is the ether, also known as Akasha, is the element associated with this energy center. And just as Vishuddha is the fifth center, the ether is considered the fifth element. And maybe it's oftentimes referred as a quintessence, and perhaps it's because it's one of the most subtle. It's the most subtle of all elements. So I was thinking maybe this is why it is called the quintessence. It's the fifth element with the fifth center. We can find it in our anatomy, in all the cavities our body. And then in a macrocosmic level, this element, it's permeating the infinite space. It's going to be related with sound, and later we're going to see that the organ that is going to be related with this element is the hearing and the sound, shabda. But what I wanted to say here is the fact that it says that through it, our words, our thoughts, the vibration of the sounds that we are expressing is transmitted through the ether. Like the sound, the vehicle of the sound is ether itself. And something else that it says is that this center, when it's functioning properly with this element also in balance, then we have a very fluid expression, and we have this ability of listening to others, which is so important. We already saw it in our previous classes. Then when it's not functioning properly or correctly, we are going to be feeling overwhelmed by our problems and cannot express ourselves as all of us would like to. Something that I would like to remind ourselves one more time, I just mentioned it not long ago, is that when we started with our classes in regards to all the chakras, we spoke about the different elements in that class. Like we spoke about the water, the fire, the earth, the air, and in our case now it's the ether. And what we said was that we shouldn't take it literally like a fist of earth or a glass of water, but to use them to connect to the different qualities of that element and how they're going to be expressed in the center itself. So the element corresponding to each chakra, as I said, should not be taken literally, but it's going to be kind of an invitation for us to understand more the center and connect in different ways with those different centers, the corresponding centers of those elements, like the lightness of the air or the solidity of the earth. And in this case, we're speaking about the subtlety of the ether. I remember that when we spoke about the Swadhisthana, we spoke about the water and the power of the gravity in the water, how easily we can degrade, become addicted, and pursue the pleasure that it's very related to the Swadhisthana, or how in the Muladhara there are this the earth is the element related to the Muladhara, and then we have this solidity, and it could be expressed in this solidity in our thoughts, in the way we see life. Then we have the color of the chakra, which is light blue. In Spanish, is a very beautiful name, is celeste. And then to refer, like other names that you can take to refer to celeste, are light blue, which is the one we're using. We also have a sky blue, and yeah, more or less those are the different names to refer to it. And it holds a different symbolic meanings, as we also saw when we spoke about the anahata. We saw how the green in different cultures, and depending how faded it is, then it's going to mean different things. It's the same with the light blue and all the colors that are going to be related to the different centers. Here we are going to see that why it is related to this specific center. And one of the things are the clear communication and also the creative expression that we mentioned at the beginning of our classes. The color celeste, the light blue, is associated with clarity and purity in communication. So in the context of the Vishuddha Chakra, it represents the ability to express oneself with transparently and also authentically. If we can just imagine how difficult it is for us many times to communicate ourselves, and as it's mentioned here, with transparency and authentically, there are so many things in the way for that type of communication to happen. But when this center is balanced, it is possible. Another thing related to the color is the tranquility and the serenity. The light blue is a soft and serene tone, and it's going to evoke a sense of peace. And in the context of the fifth center, this aspect is going to symbolize the tranquility that is experienced when communication flows without any obstacle. Another characteristic that we can relate to this color is the connection with the divine. We're going to see that in a few spiritual traditions, light blue is also associated with spirituality and with the connection with the divine. And in the context of the Vishuddha, this may reflect the idea of expressing this inner truth and also connecting with higher dimensions. We spoke how this is the first center in this series of 3 centers that are the subtle ones. So now you see how it's speaking about connecting and communicating with higher dimensions. That at the end, as we saw at the beginning, purity, the communication that we want to achieve is the communication with ourselves, with what we really are. To finalize about the light blue, we also have that it's expressing or symbolizes harmony and balance. And it says that being a balanced hue, the light blue reflects the importance of maintaining equilibrium in communication and expression. This is something that we always come back to, right? Equilibrium. This color specifically is going to suggest harmony and inner peace when the center is in balance. We have after that the color of the tattwa, which is blue, and the power associated with the center is going to be the knowledge of the sacred scriptures, also the power to read the thoughts of the others and to live without consuming food. And it's interesting here how we see that this center is located here in the throat, where we need to ingest or consume food, and then when this center is open, the power that is associated with this center, it's also related to the ability of not consuming food, living without consuming food. The animal that is associated with this chakra is a white elephant, and the white is going to represent the purity that we spoke about. And in general, by the majestic movement, the elephant is also representing stability and determination, that are 2 qualities that I feel are so important, relevant for all the communication and all the things that we've been sharing related to the center to actually happen. The plane or loka is jnana or jnanarloka. And according to the scripture, this is the plane of the devas. Now we go to the subtle element or the tammatra, which is Shabda or Brahman. That's a phrase, Shabda Brahma, but what I meant to say here was Shabda or sound, and we mentioned it at the beginning. And doing a summary of what we find in the book in regards to it, one more time, it's bringing the importance of understanding why the sound, the listening, the hearing is relevant, and it's important to cultivate it in order for communication to happen why so many times we are more focused in the importance of producing sounds and communicating, and we don't realize how we need the audition in order even to produce sounds. I don't know if you know this, but when we are children, when we are starting to learn how to speak, we do it by the audition. We do it by imitation. We start to imitate the different sounds that we hear in our surroundings. So there are different atrophies and different disorders that can develop when we cannot hear properly. Then we cannot produce the sounds and start speaking as we will normally do when our audition is working properly. So in the book we also see something very interesting, and then I want us to actually read something that we find in the book. It says that if we were able to understand that the origin of the cosmic manifestation is sound, then we can better comprehend what is the deep significance of hearing when it's developed at its subtle levels. I remember when we were speaking about the Anahata chakra, about this bridge and also this connection with the whole universe, and now here we are speaking about listening in more subtle levels and how the sound is the origin where everything begins, where the cosmic manifestation begins is through sound. And I remember that when we were sharing in regards to the chakras, there was a very specific thing that we share in regards to the sound Om. So I want us to go back. I have the book here, and that we will read that paragraph that is referred also to the origin, the creation, the manifestation. The chakras are a microcosm of creation. Before the cosmic manifestation, only the unified totality exists. The first expression of this unexpressed consciousness is the vibration of the universal Om. From this primordial sound, ether is manifested. When there is activity of the ether, air is formed. From the friction caused by the activity, fire is produced. Then the liquefaction of fire leads to the manifestation of water. And finally, from solidified water comes earth. Here we see a clear stages of the manifestation, how everything origins from the sound. And we also saw something very similar when we were speaking about the tattvas. We saw how the last ones were the elements, like this creation, these manifestations of names and form. It's situated in these 5 elements, like those were the grossest in the manifestation process of spiritualization and materialization, from subtle to gross. And we saw there also how the akasha, the ether, it's the element that is providing the space for all the other elements to exist. So this is why also it's the subtle one, the most subtle one on these 5 elements that we mentioned and that we just heard here. Something else that we find in the book that it's inviting us to put our attention, it's something that we heard in our previous classes, and it's telling us, not only in our previous classes of the Vishuddha, but in general in the whole course, it's telling us that what happens in the surface can also be applied to our inner reality. And it's telling us that in the same way that the noise does not allow us to listen to what is said to us, like if we are in a concert with very loud music and someone wants to tell us something, it's very difficult with all the external noise to listen to what other people it's telling us. So it says, okay, it also applies to our internal world. Mental noise prevents us from perceiving our inner silence. And I want us to pay attention to that word that says our inner silence. It says the noise of our ideas, our concepts, conclusions, and thoughts does not allow us to listen to the silence of our interior space. Again, the silence of our interior space, our inner silence, because it's something that it's already there. There is silence, but these mental ideas, concepts, conclusions, desires, as we saw in the previous class, are not allowing us or are a obstacle to access to that silence that I want to point out. It's already there. Like, I feel this is what these words are telling us or guiding us. The silence exists, but there are different things that are an obstacle to access to it. But the silence is there. We don't need to create it. We don't need to look for it somewhere else, but the silence exists. And once we get rid, we remove the attachment of all those ideas of our mental noise, then we can access to the silence of our most inner core of ourselves. The gland that is related to this center is the thyroid, as we heard previously, the thyroid or the parathyroid. And this gland is situated in the front part of the neck, and it's going to take a shape of a butterfly, which is united or connected from what it's called an isthmus. The primary function of this gland is the production of thyroid hormones such as T3 or T4, and they play a crucial role in regulating the body's metabolism. These hormones are going to influence also the speed at which the body is going to convert food into energy. So we are realizing the importance of this gland in our overall health. Then the significance of the thyroid gland in that overall health is going to be substantial, because improper functioning can impact the weight, the mood, the energy levels, and various aspects of general well-being. Different common issues are going to include hypothyroidism, which is underactive thyroid, and we have hyperthyroidism, which is overactive thyroid. But factors like the iodine intake, the genetic predisposition, and environmental influences are also going to play a role in this thyroid health. I don't know about you, but I think this is the gland from the endocrine system that I hear the most people referring about, and I think it's telling us about the importance of it. Understanding the thyroid's role in a metabolic regulation is going to give us light on its pivotal contribution to the body's overall balance and also functionality. We have the cognitive organ or jnanendriya, which are ears, shrota, or the auditory system. The organ of action or the karmendriya is the mouth, back for speech, which is vajindriya, and it's going to be the same in the Kashivar Shaivism. We usually have another organ, but in this case it's the same. The energetic channel or nadi is Sarasvati. The bio-element or dosa, I think many of you can guess that it's going to be Vata or the airy element. And then the vital air or Vayu is Udana. Remember that it's the one located in this area. The sheath or kosha is the Vijnana Maya or intellectual sheath. We have different gemstones that are related to this center, and to mention a few, we have the white quartz, the citrine quartz, the red jasper, the ruby, the aquamarine, and you can refer to the book to find many more. The fragrance of this center is the eucalyptus, And different aromatherapy oils, just to mention a few, are the sage, the lavender, the sandalwood, and also the chamomile. You can refer to the book to see all of them, or to this image that I'm putting in the screen. The planet or graha that is related to the Vishuddha is Buddha or Mercury. And to finalize, there are secondary chakras that are related to the Vishuddha. And to mention a few, we have the Sankhya, the Shanti, the Shantikari, the Shiva Duti, the Shiva Rupini, the Shovana, the Shruti, Shuvada, Shidi, Shiva, and Shiva Duti. And you can go to the book to find many more. This was everything for today. In our next class, we're going to be delving into the differences when this center is balanced or unbalanced, and how it's going to affect us in a psychological or physical way to our overall health. There we're going to understand more in regards to the thyroid glands and different disease that we can develop when this center is not functioning properly. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jai Prabhuji.